I know I shouldn't be concerned about a loss in the Summer League, but man, this game has me worried about the Raptors' plans for player development going forward because it was not a good look. Now, there was two and a half bright spots in this game. Let me talk about the guy in the thumbnail first, Alan Graves. He led the league in point. I mean, not the league, the team in this game in points with 22, as well as rebounds. He led them in that with 13. Had the most offensive rebounds at 5. Had 3 blocks, 2 steals. Was 9 of 16 from the field, 3 of 8 from 3, which I think he shot too many threes. He was better inside the 3-point line than outside of it. He was 6 of 8 from 2. I think that could have shifted the momentum of the game into the Raptors if if the entire team wasn't settling from 3. But that I'll address that later. He also was tied with Biddle for the most defensive rebounds. Now I'll get to the other one and a half of the bright spots later on, but let me go through a summary of what's got me worried about the future of player development with the Raptors. The Raptors had control of this game multiple times. They started off the game up 10. They forced the Celtics to turn the ball over 6 times before the Celtics even made one field goal. The Celtics had 2 points, but that was from the free throw line. If you were going to tell me that the Raptors forced the Celtics to turn over the ball 6 times before the Celtics even made one shot, I would have thought the Raptors would have won this game easily. But this is not the good NBA. I'm not even going to say the old NBA. No, it's not the good NBA where things make sense. I guess old NBA also makes sense, but whatever. You get my point. It's not good basketball anymore. It's this horrendous basketball where apparently no one wanted to learn from what we all saw in the NBA Finals between the Spurs and the Knicks, where you gotta stop chucking up threes even when you have a lead. You gotta play the game the right way. And the Raptors didn't do that. The Raptors proceeded to, after getting a 10-point lead, miss 11 shots in a row, and yes, most of those shots were threes. It was embarrassing. They were 2 of 10 from 3 after the first quarter. It, it was it was unnecessary what they were doing. 11 shots missed, and they were only up 2. And they were fortunate to only be up to at not even only be. They were fortunate to have a lead, despite how cold they went, going 6 of 21. And the Celtics had more turnovers than they had made shots by the end of that first quarter. 7 turnovers, 4 made shots. Second quarter comes around. The Raptors go on a 12-0 run, have their biggest lead of the game at 12 points. In the middle of that 12-0 run, Scotty Barnes is being interviewed, and 6 of those points were accumulated while Scotty Barnes was being interviewed. So he was good luck. Kind of wish that they found a way to bring him back to interview him again. Maybe the Raptors would have won the game. But the Celtics cut into the lead a little bit, and the Raptors were only up 8 at halftime. Even though by this point the Celtics had committed 11 turnovers and only made 7 shots. Yes, the Celtics still had more turnovers than they had made shots after 20 minutes. And the Raptors had more blocks than the Celtics had made shots. The Raptors had 11 blocks total, courtesy of Biddle, who had 6, Sharp, who had 4, and Graves, who had 1. Again, if you told me that this was the result after halftime, at halftime, I would. If let me rephrase it. If you told me that the Raptors were gonna have a dominant defensive display like this, I would have thought that they would have been up by more points and they were guaranteed to win this game. But no. Third quarter comes around and everything falls apart. The Raptors committed 7 turnovers in that quarter. Now the turnover battle is closer. The Raptors have 12 and the Celtics have 13. The Raptors just boneheaded decisions. The coach didn't want to call a timeout. The Raptors were up 11. Then to close out the third quarter, the Celtics go on a 14-3 run. The coach could have called a timeout to stop the Celtics' momentum, but he didn't. And the Raptors proceeded to commit the Raptors get called for an illegal screen. And the Celtics get the ball back. Then a TV timeout is called, and then they go back and forth a little bit, and it's tied after three. Then the fourth quarter, they're going back and forth again. The Celtics got a bunch of free throws. Again, the referees have to get involved. It's not bad enough that the Raptors are tripping over their own feet. Now the referees have to try and solidify this. And the Celtics ended up only winning by 3 points. After all that, the Raptors beating themselves and the referees deciding to play favorites. It was embarrassing. Oh, yes, I forgot to mention. At halftime, the Raptors were 3 of 20 from 3. So clearly, and they had a lead. And if they had just cut down on the threes, the lead definitely would have been bigger. But let me go back to some positive. The other 1.5 of the 2.5 bright spots. Biddle, who I mentioned had tied Graves with the most defensive rebounds. He had 2 offensive rebounds, and in total he had 10 rebounds. He had 8 points, which he all scored in the second half, and 6 blocks, which all were accumulated in the first half. He was 3 of 7 from the field and 2 of 5 from 3. I guess 1 of 2. Graves was okay from 3, and Key coming off the bench was 1 of 3. So I guess percentage-wise, you had at least 3 guys that were okay, I guess. But Biddle was 40% from 3 and a plus 11. Tied for the highest plus minus, and I already mentioned Graves was a plus 8. If I didn't, I said it again. But somehow, some way, Graves did not have the highest plus minus. But let me get to the half with Sharp, who had 7 rebounds, 5 defensive, 2 offensive, 4 blocks, and 3 steals. That's the good half. The bad half is he didn't score a point, he had 4 turnovers, and he was a minus 16. And he was coming off the bench. And yes, the bench was way worse. The bench as a collective was 5 of 24 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3, had a collective of 9 turnovers, and were a collective minus 55. The only bright spot from the bench as a collective was that they grabbed 19 rebounds. All the steals and the blocks were accumulated by Jamarion Sharp. From the bench unit. Jaden Bradley, 1 for 9 from the field. Dagenhart, 1 for 6. Key, 2 for 6 from the field. Angel, 1 of 2. He was the best guy percentage-wise shooting the ball off the bench. Dagenhart and Angel were both a minus 15. It was embarrassing. The bench collectively scored 13 points. You can't win. The fact that the coach didn't see that these guys were just floundering on the court and weren't willing to bring back the starters who were surprisingly a collective plus 50, despite 3 of the 4 guys shooting like garbage. So I'll get into that right now. I don't know how the coach didn't get back to these guys, but Hepburn somehow tied with Graves in plus minus with a plus 8. He had 11 points on 4 of 16 shooting and 1 of 9 shooting from 3. He was tied for the lead on the team with assists with 5. The other guy who had 5 assists, Burnett, who along with those 5 assists had 10 points, was 4 of 10 from the field and 0 of 4 from 3, and somehow was a plus 10. Somehow had a higher plus minus Then then uh Alan Graves. I don't know. I was about to call him Corey Graves. And then the guy who was tied with Biddle for the highest plus minus, Lundy, had 16 points, which is okay if he didn't shoot 4 of 15 from the field and 2 of 11 from three. Now, he did grab 6 rebounds, but it was not a good offensive display from the starting unit, even though they were way better than the bench unit. And collectively, shooting the ball, the starters were 24 of 64. My math is correct. I could be wrong, but whatever. They they didn't shoot bad. They didn't shoot well from the field. And from three they were 8 of, let me 13, 22, 8 of 35. Yeah, 8 of 35, 37. 8 of 37 from three. This is a joke. I even reading these stats, even though I wrote them down, I just still can't believe it. I just still can't believe it. The Raptors finished collectively 9 for 43 from three, which was 21%. To the Compared to the Celtics, who finished 9 of 34 from three, which was 26%. It was a joke. They had to shoot 9 extra threes to match what the Celtics did from three. I don't get this. And the referees getting involved. If I didn't mention that already, the free throws. But no, no. Let me go through the field goal attempts, because the Raptors shot 29 of 88 overall from the field, 33%, and the Celtics shot 25 of 82 from the field, which was what is it, 30%. I bring that up to talk about the 2 point shooting, which the Raptors should have gone to more because they dominated there. The Celtics were 16 of 48 from two, 33%, and the Raptors were 20 of 45 from two, which was 44%. This team, the coaching staff, the players are irritating. And that's why I'm worried for the future, because no one wanted to adapt and be aware of their surroundings to make the simple adjustment that would have won them the game. Because the thing is that what doesn't make sense about the 2 point shooting being like, what doesn't make sense is how the Celtics were favored when it came to free throws by the fourth quarter, because you heard what I just listed with the 2 point shooting. So the free throw shooting, let me explain. The numbers are going to be weird because the NBA decided to adopt what they do in the G League for the Summer League, where one free throw counts for 2 points until like late in the fourth quarter, where they're going to have the guys shoot two free throws. For what reason, I don't know. I guess it's to make the game go faster, but also have a competitive edge to it in crunch time, I guess. But the free throws were close for a time. The Raptors in the first quarter collectively were 1 of 2, and the Celtics were 2 of 3 collectively. At halftime, collectively, the Raptors were 4 of 6, and the Celtics were 5 of 7. After 3 quarters, collectively, the Raptors were 7 of 9, and the Celtics were 8 of 12 from the free throw line. And then, by the end of the game, the Raptors were 9 of 11, and the Celtics were 13 of 20. That doesn't make sense when you consider how it was basically a back and forth contest in the 2 point range. And unless I zoned out and missed something with the Raptors, where the majority of their shots were in the mid range and the majority of the Celtics shots were in the paint, which I highly doubt was the thing, there is no reason for the Celtics to have a huge jump in free throw attempts, other than just because they want to help this team win for whatever reason, even though it's a summer league. Because that doesn't make sense. Because the fouls were pretty much even after the first quarter. 5 fouls called on the Raptors, 6 on the Celtics. At halftime, collectively, the Raptors had 11 fouls and the Celtics had 10. After the third quarter, the Raptors were called for 19 fouls and the Celtics were called for 15. It's still pretty close. And then by the end of the game, it's 28 fouls called on the Raptors and 19 called on the Celtics. Despite that BS, the terrible shooting, the referees picking sides, this game was forced to go into overtime. The Raptors only lost by three. They didn't have CMB and Elijah Martin, but they still had a chance to win the game if they made adjustments, which again makes me worry. Now I don't know if the Raptors were just trying to hold their cards close to their chest because they didn't want to give the rest of the league any sort of um too much information so they can be so the Raptors will easily be beaten, which is dumb because you're giving too much respect to the rest of the league. They don't have the players to be able to pick you apart. E- even in this game, even in this game, despite the lack of adjustments that you made, it's funny. You still could have won it. You still could have won it, which I guess that's a positive. But then again, people will get upset at me because I'm upset that the Raptors didn't win this game, and they'll say, "Oh, well, this game doesn't matter." But then again, they'll look at the positive side and be like, "Oh, this is a bright outlook for the future," even though this game supposedly doesn't matter. Which I mean, like you can have it whatever way you want. I just don't think it makes sense if you're gonna say it doesn't matter, but it does matter. See, to me, it's got to start somewhere. I know it's the summer league, but in situations like this, the coach has to be better. The players have to be better. Like everybody needs to be poised. Everybody needs to understand the situation. You can't just let things play out because you're just giving the other team momentum. And this team, despite everything the Raptors and the referees were giving them, the Celtics, they barely won this game. That is a positive, but I would have rather the Raptors won because it kind of ruined Alan Graves. Wait, when I was, did I call him Alan Graves back then when I mispronounced his name? Well, I was about to mispronounce his name, call him Corey Graves. But okay, whatever. I don't know. Okay, Alan Graves had a pretty good game. He had a pretty decent showing in his debut, and it's unfair that he had to take the loss here. I just think that the Raptors deserved a better fate. They always deserve a better fate in my eyes because I mean the final statistics basically tell you like they got in their own way, but the Celtics weren't that much better. They weren't, and the referees favored the Celtics towards the end of the game. At this point, I'm repeating myself because I just can't believe it. I just don't understand. It's the summer league. If this stuff doesn't matter, why are the referees doing what they do in the regular season? If this doesn't matter, why are people probably going to be 50-50 on whether or not this is a positive thing or negative? I just don't understand anymore. I think I've said everything I need to say. Hopefully CMB and Elijah Martin, who missed the game, are going to play. I mean, by the time I make this video, it'll be today because they're playing a back to back. Again, said they're going to be playing on the second night of a back to back, so it'll be against Houston at 9:30 at whatever center. I don't know which center. I wasn't paying attention, but yeah, I think I said everything that I need to say. Sorry for being repetitive. Sorry for being annoying and probably taking things too seriously, or maybe not taking things seriously enough. Whatever. The comment section's down there to add anything that I may have missed, or just tell me that I'm being dumb or whatever. And like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out and God bless.